Welcome to the Neighborhood Electrification for Newton presentation. My name is Karen Kraut, and I am a member of Brookline Mothers Out Front, as well as the statewide Massachusetts Mothers Out Front leadership team and the leadership team of Gas Transition Allies, which is a statewide coalition. Buildings account for 64% of Newton's greenhouse gas emissions. Almost all homes in Newton are heated with natural gas, which, when burned through heating and cooking, produces carbon dioxide, a powerful greenhouse gas that accelerates climate change. Carbon dioxide also pollutes the air inside and outside the house. Getting off gas is essential for our health and for the climate, and as you will soon see, for our wallets as well. Burning gas for heating and cooking is not the only way our gas system produces emissions. Gas leaks out all along the system from start to finish, from extraction to distribution to the appliances in our home. Methane is the primary component of natural gas, and it is 80 times a more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide for the first 20 years in the atmosphere. When you factor in all the methane leaks, emissions from gas are as bad or worse for the climate as emissions from coal, the dirtiest fuel. In addition to the negative effects of those emissions on our health and the climate, our monthly gas bills are hugely impacted by these gas leaks. First, we pay for all that leaked gas, but that cost is small potatoes compared to the billions of dollars we pay for gas companies to maintain all the gas pipe infrastructure. A little-known state program called GSEP, the Gas System Enhancement Program, was put in place by the legislature in 2014 to give gas utilities faster approval and cost recovery for replacing aging pipes. GSEP has become one of the largest infrastructure projects ever undertaken in the Commonwealth. It is on track to cost Massachusetts gas customers almost $42 billion through the end of the century. That's about the cost of 2 big digs. To make the $42 billion cost more concrete, in our own town of Newton, replacing only 2.2 miles of pipe is going to cost ratepayers $12 million. Imagine if that money could be put into our clean energy future, not our polluting energy past. Customers not only pay huge costs for GSEP, but we pay almost as much for additional capital expenditures outside of the GSEP program. All this capital spending on gas infrastructure is one of the main reasons our gas bills are so high and will keep going up year after year after year. And that's before we pay for the gas itself that we actually use to cook and heat our homes. To clarify, when we criticize the gas system enhancement program, we are not saying don't fix gas leaks. Of course, dangerous gas leaks should be fixed immediately. However, we believe there must be a more intentional strategy for fixing leaks and transitioning off gas to clean energy. After all, the best way to stop gas leaks is to stop using gas. We know that we need to and will transition off gas, but how we do that has huge implications on the cost. If an individual homeowner decides to electrify their house or apartment because they care about the climate or they want a cleaner indoor air or more comfort, that's great for reducing carbon dioxide emissions. However, it's not great for reducing the cost of the gas system. That's because random home electrification does not allow us to retire any pipes and shrink the overall gas system. This means that the entire gas system will remain in place with all its expensive fixed costs for operations, pipe maintenance, and pipe replacement. If you notice in this picture, all of the 4 gas lines still need to be operating because of the few homes that remained on the system. We couldn't retire any of those 4 pipes. Random home electrification is also not great for equity. As people who can afford to electrify their homes leave the gas system, fewer and fewer customers will remain to shoulder those high fixed costs. So the gas bills of the remaining customers will go way up. These customers will most likely be renters and lower income folks who can't afford to electrify their homes. Meanwhile, Ratepayers are also on track to pay billions of dollars to upgrade and modernize the electric grid due to many factors, including aging infrastructure, increased need for grid resilience in the face of more frequent and intense natural disasters accelerated by climate change, and rising demand for electricity as the Commonwealth moves off fossil fuels. According to the Massachusetts Clean Energy and Climate Plan, 80% of buildings will be converted from fossil fuels to electric heat pumps by 2050. With the massive costs ratepayers will be paying to upgrade our electric system to support our clean energy future, it is absolutely senseless and irresponsible to allow gas companies to continue pouring billions of dollars of ratepayers' money to prop up a polluting gas system that will soon be obsolete. This is counter to the Commonwealth's commitment to maintain affordable utility services for its residents. Therefore, we need an orderly, systemic, community-scale transition off gas. A utility-scale solution allows us to reduce gas infrastructure and its associated costs as the customer base shrinks. Rather than random home electrification, an entire neighborhood switches to electricity, and the gas pipe those homes were attached to is retired, eliminating all future operating and maintenance costs. Depending upon the type of neighborhood electrification, the utility could spread the cost over the entire customer base, or newly electrified customers could pay back their home retrofits gradually on their monthly utility bill. Leaders of the Commonwealth understand the necessity of transitioning off fossil fuels to clean, efficient, renewable energy. The legislature, the Healey administration, and the Department of Public Utilities, which regulates utilities, have passed laws and issued regulations to facilitate this vital transition. For example, last year's climate law newly allows gas companies to sell thermal energy, not just gas. This creates an opportunity for gas companies to transition their business model to providing clean energy. New DPU regulations provide the first ever incentive for gas companies to install what's called non-pipeline alternatives, or NPAs. An NPA is an investment that defers, reduces, or avoids the need for a new gas pipe. It can mean repairing the pipe at much lower cost, or retiring the pipe and electrifying all the buildings that are connected to it. Gas companies are also newly required to evaluate every pipe on their list of pipes to be replaced within the GSEP program to determine if the pipe can be safely retired instead. If that's possible, the street segment is designated as a potential NPA, or non-pipeline alternative. There are two ways for people living in NPA designated areas to collectively get off gas. The first is by swapping out all of the gas appliances with electric appliances. For example, replacing boilers or furnaces with air source heat pumps and replacing gas stoves with electric or induction stoves. The second way is by participating in a networked geothermal system, also known as a thermal energy network, or TEN for short. In a thermal energy network, each home and building is connected to an underground network of water-filled pipes that transfer heat in and out of the building via ground source heat pumps installed in each building. TENs are the most efficient heating technology available. Not only do they provide heating, they also provide cooling, so it's a two-for-one system. TENs are a known and proven technology worldwide. Framingham, Massachusetts was the first ever utility-installed TEN in the country. It serves 24 residential buildings, 96 public housing apartments, and 4 commercial buildings. It has been very successful. The first pilot was fairly costly, but many lessons were learned, and a planned expansion loop to an adjacent neighborhood is estimated to cost almost 50% less than the first loop. So, who will pay for neighborhood electrification? This is the big question. The Framingham Thermal Energy Network was a pilot, and the costs of everything from drilling the boreholes to installing the water pipes to retrofitting the homes were spread out over all gas ratepayers over time. The DPU has also authorized gas companies to pilot the air source heat pump type of neighborhood electrification. That will also be paid for by all ratepayers. Outside of these pilots, the question of who pays has not yet been determined. With any type of neighborhood electrification, all the buildings will need to be retrofitted, meaning swapping out the gas appliances for electric ones. Building retrofits can be complex and costly. Asking individuals to pay the entire cost is not realistic for most people and will slow down the transition off gas. That's why a lot of smart people are exploring various ways to finance these retrofits so that they are more affordable. One example is a concept called inclusive utility investment, in which utilities pay the upfront costs of the building's retrofits, and then they recover those costs through a charge on the participant's monthly bill. Mothers Out Front supports provisions in legislation pending in the legislature right now that would create this program. Another example is having the state or a municipality issue revenue bonds that would pay for the boreholes and the building retrofits. While we don't yet know how neighborhood electrification will be paid for, our goal right now is to get more and more people to understand that getting off gas is good for our health, our climate, and definitely for our wallets. Working together in neighborhoods where it's feasible will help us reduce our emissions more quickly and more equitably.